Ramataka 21-22 at Katuku Marae, 2nd of July, Diana. So, mai kia ora. Okay, I'm starting. Kia ora. Whakarohi, I have thought about reading this through. I'll do that quickly, and I know that you have copies. So, and our time is moving on. Hoero, ka tīmata. Ngāti hui ki katuku si the mana whenua KCDC relationship enhanced through. Again, what our mai o taki whanaunga say, acknowledging, strengthening, and developing the reality of ahika, our resilience and fortitude, and our contribution to the whole community. Means supporting ahika is identified as huia ki katuku within the precincts of ahika mana whenua, which is the Otaki River, Kukutawaki, Otaki Township, along with our whanaunga of Maiotaki, Ngāti Pare, Ngāti Kapu, Ngāti Koroki. And those all of our hapu have been specified in the MOU between Council and recognised in Te Whakamenenga. And we see this providing for our needs by enabling the restoration and enhancing of our environment. Tēnā koe roi mata. And a strong commitment to kaitiakitanga. Actively empowering and resourcing ahika people through means of strengthening their visual status in communities. Developing leadership programs for young people of ahika, whānau and hapu, and offering internship scholarships and mentoring programs for young people with initiative and drive to contribute back to ahika and wider community life along the Kapiti coast. I feel I've missed pages, but never mind, I'm carrying on. There's a question on investing for resilience and growth. Do you think investing for resilience and growth is the right approach for Council to take at this time? Yes, agreement that ahika and tai ao are at the forefront of investment. We are signatories of Te Reo Waitangi, on myself in the 7th generation, a descendant of one of the signatories of the treaty. So we have complete belief and faith in that document of the treaty and kawanatanga models, adopts the values of whānau, kaitiakitanga, and sustainable growth can be achieved. Financial and infrastructure strategies. It's pages 25 and 32. That's Council has determined that it's appropriate to change the limits for rates. What do you think? E tautoko ngā kōrero Ngāti Maiotaki. So I'll just leave that there. So what I've just said is we support Ngāti Maiotaki stand. It's in our submission. We do have, yes, our history of land alienation and the result of the social, cultural, and educational harms of that. We feel increase in rates just contributes again to that, that negative outcome. Big issues, COVID-19 response and recovery. Our response to that is, whether it be pandemic response or civil emergency response, Māori have shown each time that marae whānau hapu iwi can positively affect the plan for communities, starting with the most vulnerable, kaumātua and tamariki, whānau. We're supportive and like to see marae and Otaki ahika marae of mana whenua resourced by means of pandemic kits for distribution, PPE gear and suitable generators for our marae to be able to take care of all that need taken care of in any situation, would be pandemic or civil emergency. Positives that have come out of the pandemic. Hapu, spelling mistakes in this, of Otaki working together supported to be able to do so via KCDC comms access. So those that are able and willing can provide the care and support. Support the 5 hapu to contribute to the COVID recovery plan and to co-opt mana whenua working members to the Council's COVID response team. E mihi hoki ana hai ki ngā kaimahi, o mātou, Ngāti Hui tātou. ki ngā kaimahi, amatau ake, ka hui koutou ko te tīma tiana ariana. He tino awhina hoki tira I taua wā. Access to housing. Any views on access to housing generally, please comment, and ours have been bullet pointed. Engage mana whenua landowners, coordinate with regional and national government agencies to hold workshops to develop papakainga. Coordinate with financial organisations or assist us, support us to do that. Financial organisations and institutions seeking viable financial pathways for Māori to develop papakainga on our multiple owned land titles, especially with Katuku X Trust and other land trusts and their trustees. Have resource legal advice or recommend sound legal advice teams and researchers for a series of hui with ngā hapu ōtaki and developing papakainga models and getting them on the ground. District plan must have robust protective measures for identified and unidentified wāhi tapu, pēnei tā Ngāti Maiotaki, with the remnant native forest wetlands are protected and further regenerated. We currently are working on a wetlands project. Wetlands are a major taonga in our history. We have to regenerate them now in our present. And we certainly want them for the future. We're doing that currently at Katiku. Pensioner flats, kaumātua housing, and I've stated this at a hui at Raukawa, I've stated with the support of our hapu, collective hapu, percentage of KCD stock of kaumātua housing be identified for ahika, mana whenua kaumātua. The true belief that ahika, mana whenua contribute to the identity of a community, and that's the health of a community. And those kaumātua who have long-term residence history in Otaki. Create food forests, and again, tautoko Ngāti Maiotaki, community gardens, including green sunny spaces for kumara planting, and storage as a means to support marae activities in Otaki and wider community activities. District plans incentivise small housing developments and work with ahika to develop papakainga with sustainable technologies. We then go on to to respond to the climate change question. This was a very small response from us. No more development on Otaki Beach, full stop. That's a sentence. We've developed, responding to pages 40 and 41 of the long-term plan, and developing a strategic framework to guide decisions. We currently do not support the establishment of the kind proposed in the district plan. This is not given any acknowledgement of the treaty-based or the two-house model. There's not enough information. There wasn't enough information in that plan for us to feel confident that that's the direction we would like to see council taking. Until such a model can be discussed at council and community level, and at hapu and whānau level, another framework will be imposed upon mana whenua and ahika. That's how we felt regarding that question. And to give cognizance to the growth of the treaty partnership, looking at establishing another strategic framework. Managing growth, pages 42 to 43, as our district grows, what do you think good growth looks like? Again, give cognizance to the growth of the treaty partnership as the framework with distinct value to guide us and future generations. Retaining unique features and feel of the Otaki community and environment. Growth must be in partnership with ahika. Greenfield and brownfield development must and should be determined with district plan, which embodies tangata whenua values. We wish to ensure that barriers for Māori to build on Māori land are removed. And I think the current government is moving in that way. That's in brackets. It's not in our proposal, sorry. Strengthening our resilience, pages 44 to 45. What else can council do to help build community resilience? Communities, mana whenua need to be prepared well by council supplied. Water tanks, I'm sure councillors have thought about these things. All marae supplied with water tanks and quality filtering systems to allow gathering and distribution of water when needed to help assist and support and care of all people and the expression of manaakitanga. And resilience models and workshops based on tikanga Māori to guide the process and outcomes. The pāharekeke model as adopted in the front pages should be mandated by ensuring the most vulnerable, including rangatahi, are nurtured through a myriad of policies and work programs, using mentorship as one example. Helping council ensure households' emergency preparedness. Very, very quick response there from our hapu. Water tanks, high quality filtration systems, community gardens, and emergency packs through incentivising small businesses. It should be ahika driven. Should we explore different options? And our response was we could reduce our increase or increase our excess. I think this is about insurance. We weren't sure what the we meant here. And government changes impacting council, the Three Waters services, pages 46 to 47. Kamata, he mana tō te wai. That really should be beyond legislation too, and commercial use, commercial take. And it's very brief, a response there. And the question, a response to the question, what should we advocate for? Uninterrupted access to fresh drinking water, fresh streams to ensure food security and biodiversity. Means council must, with WGRC, Wellington Greater Regional Council, advocate strong and tougher laws against those that pollute, extract neighbouring fresh water sources for their commercial use. We are currently facing that on our hapu lands. Support mana whenua ahika to cease any of the above activities that directly affect mana whenua lands. Advocacy and necessary law changes alongside and with mana whenua and ahika. Tēnā koutou, pages 50 to 63, should council take a bigger role in housing? Council should partner with, which we underscored, mana whenua ahika. Prioritise working with hapu, specifically ahika hapu, who are particularly aware of housing needs. And the Paikākariki seawall, Ngāti Haumia, Ngāti Toa, this is a kōrero with the hapu and the iwi. Significant proposal too. Our view, Waihoma Atiawa e kōrero. Major projects and initiatives, page 64 and 73, consult mana whenua ahika directly on these priorities. We want and need more information on the projects. Restoration and regeneration of wetlands should be a main priority. Stream and water restoration is another ahika priority. Funds to build safe play areas at all marae and Otaki. And the bilingual signage, Reo Māori. Ki runga, we're talking Otaki, our treaty partnership language under that. Changes to the rating system, pages 76 to 78, where e koe, Ngāti Mai Otaki, so ka waihoai ki reira, I'll leave that there. And the rates remission policy, and equitable for mana whenua ahika. Rates for 2021, Otaki significant Māori population, significant Māori speaking population. We do enjoy high employment rates due to our iwi investment in whakatupuranga ruamano. 13.2 increase should have substantive results for Otaki. Any increases should show good results in Otaki. good investment in Otaki is what we're saying. Ensure iwi capacity funding is shared out to 5 hapu to engage engagement and matters of significance. And that was it. I think I missed a page, responses, but tēnā tātou, tēnā koe kahu, tēnā hoki koe guru. Mihi ana ki te tēpu. Kumatu.
Kia ora. I think there's a commonality between your submission and my Otaki submission, and some of the sentiments the councillors have expressed would be the same, I would assume. But having said that, I open it up to any questions from councillors. Councillor Coates.
Kia ora tātou, Janie. So good to see you and other members here tonight, and pleased to see after speaking with me, you managed to get a submission in. It certainly provides a greater richness to our process. I won't reiterate what was said to Donovan, what the question that I asked to Donovan around affordability. I think that your views would be similar to his. I'll ask you a different question, which is around the rates remission. It has been referenced in both the previous submission from Donovan and this submission, the 13.2% increase. And I just want to note, before I ask the question, that that's on the average house price in Otaki. As an example, I spoke to an older member in our community at the pop-up session who had a 25% increase, proposed rates increase, which equated to $500 extra a year, and that was someone on a pension. The rates remission policy, rating the rates as a rating tool, as a clumsy and a blunt tool, and as your Otaki ward councillor, it was actually my proposal to increase the rates remission policy by $50,000 to try and address that affordability issue that I saw would become a problem and is already a problem in Otaki. I'll just be honest in the sense that there's only so much I can do in terms of reducing the rates or reducing the level of rates. And so I guess my response to that to try and support my community was proposing increasing the rates remission by $50,000. So I stand by that, but I'm interested in how, given the comments both from Donovan and yourself in the submission on behalf of iwi and hapu, that can better serve our community, that rates remission policy. And it may be a discussion you want to take offline in more detail, but given the feedback in your submission, I'm interested in your response. I hope that makes sense.
Kia ora, James. The $50,000 rates remission, what percentage does that represent? And yes, we do have to probably take the more conversation offline in terms of that, but...
Look, just off the top of my head, as a council, we provide a total of just over $400,000 a year in rates remissions. There are certain criteria for that, and we have looked to relax that criteria. There's also rates remission available from the Department of Internal Affairs, but again, that has specific criteria. And so my request was to increase the rates remission fund by an additional $50,000, which would provide support for another from memory, 167 households or family whānau. So it's effectively been able to support the vulnerable in the community by a remission amount towards their rates. Again, happy to take this discussion offline, but it's important for me to know how that could work better for our community.
Kia ora, we probably will take it offline. One of the effects, though, that rates remission is important for families. A lot of our whānau from Ngāti Huia, from the number of hapu and Otaki, are also renters. So rates increases, of course, will affect their rent. And that's the other part that we need to do more work on, to give good feedback, to give good information, get good policy.
Janie, thank you. That's it's certainly helpful to understand where you're coming from, and I think we can continue that discussion, because certainly my goal is to look at how we can support our community given some of the increases are unavoidable. So I'd look forward to discussing that further, and would be happy to meet with you and others in a separate occasion.
Councillor Sophie Henford.
Kia ora, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa, ko Sophie Henford so ko ingoa no Paikakiriki aho. I'm the Paikakiriki Raumati Ward Councillor and also have the climate change and youth portfolios. And I just wanted to kind of touch on the point in your submission around the strategic framework to guide our decision making in relation to climate change and a vision of hopefully climate justice. What the question is, if I cut to the chase, is are you supportive of there being some kind of framework to guide our decision making if it is taken back to that stage of ensuring that there is that treaty house model that's I acknowledge is fundamentally important to the success of our climate action here and the sustainability and succession of our climate action. So are you supportive of there being some kind of a framework to guide our decision making if you were able to say that it's been co-designed in the right way? I just want to get a sense if you think that a strategic framework is the right way to go.
A resounding yes.
Kia ora.
Yeah, resounding yes based on the treaty model. It's the way forward.
Yeah, kia ora. I agree.
Kia ora.
Councillor McCann.
Kia ora. It's Councillor McCann here with the housing portfolio on again. I just want to congratulate you on the excellent suggestions in here. And I want to make sure that you know that we have heard the words partner with and work with you on all of these solutions. So really pleased to see that. I have one question, and it is around how you think it might work having a percentage of KCDC housing stock that's currently held for our seniors set aside for kamatua.
Kia ora. How we see it working?
Yes. And I'm very happy if we take that offline, but that was the only thing that I wasn't quite sure how that would work.
Yeah, we do have to work through that one, but one is there's an age criteria, I think, 65. Okay, it's a painful kind of, we just go back to health mortality rates for Māori. One of those is consideration for us is that it needs to be lowered until we get some equity in health outcomes. So that's being forefront in our discussions is Ngāti Huia. The other is, and there's a suggestion in there, the percentage, we haven't really worked that through. So Rob, we do have to have more kōrero around that, but certainly there's some criteria. And the criteria we have thought out is the age one.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. As soon as you said it, I realised. And I do understand the mortality rates are significantly different. And thank you for pointing that out. And again, congratulations on writing such a good document that's really helpful in the way we move forward together.
Kia ora, tēnā pēra.
Councillor Buswell.
Kia ora, it's Angela Buswell here. Look, I just want to ask a small question in regards to your emergency preparedness, and just given the location of your marae, right at the river mouth and right on the sea, and marae being a focal point for your community, do you ever work with Remo, who are our emergency response unit for, I guess, the district, and they help our community prepare for different sorts of events? Have you had anything to do with them?
No, they haven't approached us, Angela. So yes, no, but if they approach us, would be sit down and have a talk. Most definitely.
Well, yeah, I think that might be a really good idea, and maybe I could take that forward with a bit of a chat to the Remo rep up here to reach out to you and your people to come and talk and see what your needs are specific to. I think you made mention of tikanga Māori guides and principles and things. So I think that would be great.
Kia ora. Be welcome.
I think that's the last of the questions, Have you got any summing up to do from your side before I hand it to Kahu?
Oh, kei te pai, tēnā koe.
Ka kutahi atu rā te mi kia koe hini. Te pai, kei te tautoko i ngā korua Councillor McCann, e rua noi ho ngā wā ka tautoko i ana whakaaro engari i tika ana. E tika ana, i te pai o koutou ngā tuhinga. Tono, kia nei, koutou Ngāti Hui e whai whakaaro ana mo te tae ao ka tika. Ka kapuhi ake nei ngā kupu o tērā waiata, nā te rangi haiata, moi ana te huia, tangi ana te kōtuku. E tohu ana tērā i te aorere ke haere ana mō tātou te iwi Māori. No reira taku tono kia koutou Ngāti Huia, e tika ana mā koutou hei whakaringa, hei whakawaiwai, te kaupapa o te tae ao. No reira mihi ana tēnei kia koe koutou, o tira tērā kui o tātou kātahi anō, ka whakaemi ki roto i tēnei kaupapa whae rōpine. Kua, kei te noho āmio i a koe o kaumātua kuia, kei te whai whakaro au tonu mōna, me ngā mahi nunu i tutuki ai i te wā o te ora. No reira Ngāti Huia, te hura tua ngā huru, te ngare o huia, tēnā koutou, kia ora hui hui mai tātou.
Aroha Gleeson, tēnā koe. Your submission.
Kia ora. Kia ora, my name is Aroha Gleeson. I'm from Otaki. I am 19 years old and I am currently enrolled in the Horanga Tamariki program in Otaki. I am representing the rangatahi on the program. We feel like we need like a youth space where we can just chill out, play games, socialize and feel safe. Having this space will allow us to make new friends, build confidence, keep youth off, allow the streets and build relationships between the youth, and the community. In the space, we would like to have a gaming room, music recording studio, art space, basketball courts, and a chill out area where people feel safe to talk to. We have added a few ideas to our submission, but I feel that this idea is the most important, as we have too many youth on the streets who are bored and need a safe place to hang out. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk.
Very good, well done. I think the issue of rangatahi in Otaki has been a topic right through the submission process. I'll open it now to the other councillors to ask if they've got any questions. Councillor Buswell.
Thank you so much for making the time to speak to us tonight. I'm actually really interested in hearing about your program that you're doing and what are you getting out of it? Is it good fun?
Yeah, it's good fun. We just like get together and like talk about what we're gonna do on a daily, like the teachers organize everything before like the day before the students come in, and then we all get together and have a kai together and like have a chill out where everyone gets to like talk about what we do through the program and outside of Otaki.
Oh, that's good. And do you find it really supportive and nurturing?
Yeah, it's probably engaged for like probably like more for the like 14 that are out of school and like, you know, like out of school and not doing anything, just lazing around all day at like home.
Right. Well, I'm really pleased that you're really engaged with it. That's great news. And thank you for your submission.
Welcome.
Councillor Coots.
Kia ora aroha. I'm James Coots, Otaki Ward Councillor, And as Councillor Buswell has said, really want to thank you for your submission. There's some really good stuff in here. There's quite a lot of stuff, and I'd love to meet with you and the rangatahi that are detailed below at the bottom of the submission if you're willing to meet with me and just talk through some of this stuff. Did you have a space in mind when you know, is there somewhere that you're sort of considering that you think would be a great space for a youth centre already?
Like somewhere central, like where like there's like somewhere where everyone knows where it is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like not out of town, like in the middle of like town, but not like kinda.
There's no specific building in Otaki you've got your eye on or anything. It's just really the idea around it.
Yeah, just like where people can like not just like out of town where like so everyone can like know where it is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, look, councils, not just this one, have a tendency to spend a lot of time and money on plans and consultation and feasibility and you know, sort of big words like that. Would it be, and that tends to take a lot of time. Is this something that you and the other rangatahi would rather see something sort of sooner rather than later, even if it isn't in a big,
because I think like
flash?
for the young students, they're like more getting into trouble and, you know, like getting up to mischief, and like we kind of want to help the young people get out of that situation and build them into a safe environment instead of doing what they're doing.
So even a repurposed existing building would be suitable?
Yeah,
rather than a big new flash one?
Yeah.
All right. Look, thanks very much. And I genuinely would be pleased to meet with you and just talk through some of those ideas. So I'm not too sure whether I'd reach out to you or you guys make contact with me, but I'm more than happy to come and catch up.
Yeah, we'll get hold of you.
Awesome.
All right.
Councillor Sophie Hanford.
Hey, kia ora aroha, ko Sophie Hanford tōku ingoa. I have a question around this kind of youth facility you're thinking of. We've had a few people, and I'm aware of this myself with conversations I've had with rangatahi across the district, that there's a lot for youth to do in Paraparaumu. So I'd like for you to comment on that kind of disparity between maybe there being a lot for youth to do in Paraparaumu, but maybe not so much in Otaki.
For most people, it's like the travelling, like they can't get from here to there, or they have no transport or whatnot.
Yeah. Do you reckon maybe the a train up to Otaki from Waikanai?
Or like
electrification, or further north. As well, so that there's that connection, but actually having a space so that youth from Otaki can stay on their whenua and don't have to travel is your main priority. Yeah. I'd also be keen to either jump in on that same meeting that Councillor James Coots is going to have, or just keen to link up with you sometime, aroha, and the rest of the rangatahi involved with the program. So thanks so much for jumping in, and looking forward to meeting you in person.
You too.
Kia ora.
Councillor Compton.
Kia ora ko Gwyn Compton tōku inga. I just wanted to pick up on your submission. You're talking about the frequency of buses to Otaki. That was a point I brought up. I spoke to Kapiti Coast District Council's submission to Greater Wellington today, and there was a point I hammered home to them, that even though they're looking at funding additional trains that might come 6, 7, 8 years down the track, they really need to ensure there's more frequent buses for Otaki. And I thought it might be helpful if you could describe for the councillor what's actually involved for you if you want to get down to access services or facilities in Paraparaumu when you need to, in terms of getting from Otaki down there.
Oh, well, it's like mostly out of like the school. It's like usually in the school hours, so the students really can't do like during school hours, if you know what I mean. Like we kind of want them like maybe after school, so like everyone can like get transport or whatnot in the, you know.
No, that's really helpful, and I think that that was a message we had.
Because most of the buses are like during school hours, and I don't want the students or the tamariki like ditching school for like, you know, getting out of school just to go to that, you know.
No, you're absolutely right. I completely agree with you.
We've got Councillor Holbrook.
Kia ora aroha. Thank you so much for your submission today. One of the other ideas we had coming through the submissions over the last few days was a hub that was more about kind of services and including health services. What would you have to say about access to health services for Otaki Rangatahi and the value of something like that? And
I think we might need like some more like youth counsellors, because most of the tamariki don't have that support to like help them or guide them through what they're going through, if you know what I mean. So like most people don't like talk to people about what's going on in their head and just, you know, talk to other people about it before they talk to other people they don't trust.
Councillor McCann.
Kia ora. Sorry that you're having to represent all of youth in Otaki, but while we've got you online, we had another presentation today. It was about the fact that it's hard to sit your licence because you need to end up going to live-in. Have you had that experience, or have your friends had that experience? And can you tell us how that can be limiting?
Yeah, I've had that experience where I have like had no transport to get from live-in or Palmy or like Kapiti to go get my restricted license. But I think we might need like some kind of help to get the youth or like any students in Otaki Kapiti to like get the transport and the what do you call it? And the like the driver's license in Otaki maybe?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Councillor Pravanov.
Thank you, Aroha. I was actually just going to ask a very similar question to Councillor McCann, who's just asked you a question. So what you're saying, it's the issue around getting a restricted license is about being able to go somewhere to get it rather than actually learning to drive. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Councillor Buswell again.
Hi, Araha. Just picking up on the driver's license thing. With the program that you're doing with Wikuri Kapiti, do they help you get your driver's license?
Yes, they do. So you basically have to have your learner's license before they can book you in to go for your restricted. So they do like 10 to 12 driving lessons with this lady. What's her name? Teresa, and she just takes you out for like an hour drive, and then she tests you on the like road, if you know what I mean, like doing the left, right, and all that.
Yeah, so that's really great. And then do you still have to go to either Paraparaumu or live-in to actually sit your license at the AA?
Yeah, you can go to live-in. So at the moment, we've got a couple of students here doing their restricted. So, excuse me, myself, I'm currently doing my restricted license. So I'm doing some driving lessons, but I've booked my license in for the 1st of June.
Great, that's exciting. I hope you pass.
And of course, wants to buy card, so and also our course wants what's that? To buy a car so Rangatahi can use it, like a van or something, so we can like sit the licenses.
Right, Aroha, thank you for your submission. It's been fantastic learning from you about what's happening to the youth. And a couple of our councillors have already said they are quite willing to sit down and have a chat with you about what else we can do for you. So thank you for your wonderful submission.
Thank you.
Aroha tina rawa atu koe hine. Tino rawe te whakarongo ki tō reo. Me nei kaupapa I puta mai. Mi haro tū me ke katoa ngā kauni hera I te awa tango tō tuku. Anō reira me mihi ka tika hako kare tino mōhio ki a koe, a ko tō kanuhi a ka mōhio pēr. Hea no heni, Donovan, a te waka tai mai te kauni hera ki kona mo te district plan, te hara nei, me hara mai tērā kō tiro. Ne? E tigana, me hara mai ia. Tēnā koe te. Saying that she needs to come to some more of their meetings with us.
Okay, so we've got one more, Roimata.
Roimata Baker.
Roimata, are you there?
Kia ora. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, please proceed with your submission. Welcome.
Am I able to share a screen? Am I able to share a screen for a presentation?
Yeah, it's been done.
Sorry.
We're just trying now, Roimata.
Oh, okay.
Have you shared it to the computer screen?
I might just jump on share screen now. Go on here. To Manakwea, ko pai. Can you see that now?
Yes, we can.
Tēnā koutou. E te kana ke mihi au ki tō tātou koro matua o te kaunihera e kuru koutou ko ngā pau o tō whare, o te kaunihera tēnā koutou kua tūwhera I te papa ke whai wāhi tātou ki te whakatakoto kaupapa. Hei kōrero mo te pai tawhiti o te rohi nei, nā reira tēnā koutou. Kia kawa au e mihi ke haua noi, ngari ka mihi au ki te tikanga o ngā tūranga e noho ai koe e kahu Diana, koutou e manaki ana I ngā honunga ki ngā hapu, ki ngā kaiwhai pānga o te hapori taino atu ki ngā tūru o te kaunihera no reira tēnā tātou katoa. Tēnā hihi ai te mihi ki te kōtiro rā aroha tēnā rawa te koe rangatirana o whakaro me tō ki mua I a tātou katoa. Kei te noho mamau au I pāngia te rungo ai tētahi māwewe. And I should be in that room with my hapu members, with my whānau. I'm actually not feeling that great. I wasn't sure I was going to make it. But here I am in my classroom and noho mamau ana. And Tracy Dawes sits with me also as the trustee of Ōtaki Wakahoe. No reira, kia ora tātou. Kia kotahi te hāpai o te hoi for me captures the essence of our submission to the Kapiti Coast District Council and the long-term plan. It's just an awesome metaphor for paddling together in unison towards a common goal. And in the spirit of the treaty partnership that my hapu whānau are talking about. And we've sent out a document to you guys. I don't really need to go through every single detail of it. I probably don't have time to do that this evening, but I wanted to pull 3 key points out of that document that's been sent out to you guys. And it's a document that is titled Rethinking Possibilities because of the lake itself, having been an industrial site, soon to be made an asset for the community to enjoy as a whole. And the 3 things that really stand out for us are people, purpose and place. And as we think about those, we think also about the outcomes that have been detailed in the long-term plan by the council. Thriving environment really resonates for us because we are focusing on the rehabilitation of the lake. We're naturalising it. The edges will be sculpted and made to look more natural. And I can speak to that later. But that's a really big deal for us right now, and so is water quality. Strong communities also resonates for us. We feel like we are contributing to that on the daily through the sport and culture of Wakaama, and also vibrant economy through our aspirations for to host Hoitonga regional regattas. And so we really support those outcomes, and we hope that we're actually able to find opportunities to give expression to them as well. And I wanted to speak briefly about environment. because it's a big deal. Oh gosh, I did move that. Yeah, there we go. These images actually make up a bit of a scrapbook illustration of what we're focusing on at the moment at the lake at Wintstones, because again, the lake is an industrial site, and the cleanliness of the water, the turbidity of the water, it's very brown at the moment, and Ngā Hapu Taki have empowered members of the trust to sit with councils to track that process and to play an active role in the monitoring of the water quality and addressing the issues that are causing the turbidity in the water. And we're currently looking at ecological designs for the lake so that it's beautiful, so that as the lake is eventually opened up to the public, that we're ready to receive our community, our wider community, and all the multiple needs that it will no doubt meet. You'll see a building there, and it's just an image of a building, a lake house, and again another a big dream of our trusts as we seek to secure and store watercraft for the entire community, not just for a Wakaama club, but for multiple clubs. We see the potential for that to happen in the space, as well as developing a facility for coaching clinics and community education. One image here that stands out probably most of all for me, above all, are the tuna in that crystal clear water. And that's a real aspiration for us. We can't see through the water at the moment, and there's a lot of work going on, and the lake has taken quite a hit. But again, rehabilitation and redesign of the lake. And we come to the council to talk about roads, car parks and toilets, because this is something that we really need in the space. And so we seek, we would feed forward to any investment in that area, particularly in Otaki, the community wellbeing, as Aroha has already referred to, and no doubt my hapu whānau is a big deal. And so as we seek to open up the space, we've got a $1 million road that needs to go in through Te Roto Road. That will need bollards and car parking and toilets. So, yeah, and the idea is to actually create a space, healthy habitats for wildlife, tuna, manu ika, but also a place where our own people are safe to be there. And so the whāinga for our trust, we feel, are in line with mana whenua. It's an expression, we are one and the same anyway. But I wanted to refer to some of the strategic goals of Te Ahi Kārua, the Ngā Hapu Taki strategic plan, which we've been obviously engaged during consultation for that plan. Kaitiakitanga, rangatiratanga, manaakitanga, as we seek to sort of rebuild that environment, develop it. Water quality, plantings, design, healthy habitats. We think those are an expression, all of those tasks are an expression of those strategic priorities. And resilient communities really stands out for us. We really, we welcome increased investment in building resilient communities. Our communities need to stay connected, probably more than ever before, healthy and supported and grounded. And we can't think of a better way to do that than in the environment, out on the water. And so we create this space, not just for athletes, although they have been there for the last 10 years. We know that it's been deeper than that. It's been a deeper experience. There's been mental, social, physical, and spiritual benefits to this space. With all of its restrictions, as an industrial space, we have achieved so much. And so we look to the council to support that development. I just want to speak to this photo of these girls here because they're all very different. And Tracy would vouch for this. Some of them are shy, some of them are loud, some of them are introverted, others are extroverted. These girls are national champions. You know, they've already stood on the podium a number of years winning medals, and we love that the sport has brought their families together. And that's what resilient communities are about. And like I say, as a club that has nurtured athletes to be the very best that they can be, these girls have stood on podiums around the world. and in New Zealand. And what's beautiful about their experience is that they come back to coach children. And this is what we're supporting, and this is what we hope the long-term plan supports. At the lake, it isn't just about that grainy picture. I had to put it in there because this is a very diverse community, Wakama community. We've got grandparents in this photo, they paddle, we've got parents and we've got children and people of various abilities. And the woman in the red here is a real taonga to us, is our language expert, Henny Jacob. And since 2019, we have been running Wakareo workshops free to our community as part of our language revitalisation strategy, not just for Ōtaki, but for the entire district. And we look to be active participants in the Bilingual Towns and Cities project, which of course KCDC will work with Ngā Hapu Ōtaki to carry out, to implement. And we will put our hand up every time to help enrich that initiative. So big ups to Department of Internal Affairs and Te Mātawe. Vibrant economy, I just want to throw these figures out to everyone that in 2020 there were 15.2% of the national total registered paddlers were from this district. That's 828 paddlers from the Hoitonga district, which is from Ōtaki, the centre of the universe, Wellington, all the way to Wairarapa, up to Taranaki and back down again. And between 2020 and 21, you can see the drop. That's a significant drop for us in numbers, and that impacts on our clubs. And so any kind of resilience funding that assists clubs to rebuild is good. What these numbers aren't really normal. Obviously, we had an extraordinary year. And what was interesting was that post-COVID, there was a big spike in the registration of secondary, well, actually just in the arrival of secondary school teams to the Winstones Lake. Social teams, a lot more social teams who are people who want to come together and paddle on the water for reasons other than medals, which is an extraordinary thing to some of our paddlers and teams. And then, of course, long distance teams. And normally at this time of year, that space goes quiet. At the moment, the car park is packed. And so to me, that has been the community response to COVID, a need for people to get out, move their bodies and reconnect with each other and the environment. Hoitonga Ōtaki have also tagged Ōtaki in their own strategic plan as a venue for regional events. And the reason why this sits under vibrant economy for me is because the potential to draw all of those 722 paddlers to Ōtaki is quite real. And behind every one of those paddlers is a family, is a coach, is a manager. So the numbers are not just 722, they are all the other people that come and help drive these events, because it is based very much on voluntary input. They all need somewhere to sleep, while some of them are local, others come from as far as Taranaki and obviously Wairarapa. And so the potential to grow this is a space at Winstones Lake to host coaching clinics, time trial days, community whānau days, school regattas and Hoitonga regional sprint events. That doesn't just grow economy, but that continues to grow community resilience. And I know that some people think of resilience in terms of tsunami readiness and earthquake readiness, but ultimately we know that we need each other just as much, and being connected and feeling like you can actually reach out for support from others is profoundly important. The lake already is a learning lab, but that too has potential to develop the history of the land and the water, water quality, teaching our paddlers, teaching our kaihoi and our whānau to monitor water quality. It's a conversation we're having now with Greater Wellington, developing a sanctuary for native aquatic species and plants. The lake is already teeming with tuna, with the turbidity, with the water's very, there's a lot of silt, there's been a lot of disturbance around the edges of the lake. That's something we really want to address. And so Winstones and Fletchers are talking about installing silk curtains and so on while they continue with their rehab. plant and tree identification. All of these things happen in that space and can happen in that space. And of course, all those activities are climate action. And so I think just as important is, well, most certainly important, is the conversation of mana whakahaere in that space. That ngā hapu ōtaki have empowered us to sit with councils, to have discussions with them about the things that need to happen, to work on a vision document for the joint management of the lake, and also to encourage engagement with other stakeholders. And when I hear that name a lot, stakeholders, we're talking about the yachties and we're talking about triathletes and canoe poling, but we're also talking about our own whānau kaumātua who may not engage that space very much, but we would like to see that happen as well. Hence a facility that houses people, that creates a space for people to gather and for knowledge to be shared and disseminated appropriately. And these are just milestones. And look, I share these with you guys because I think they sit very much within your framework for contribution to wellbeing, wellbeing of community, wellbeing of people. And ka waiho ki reira, present 2 years. Now, these are detailed in the document, but for those who don't have the document in front of them, ngā hapu have copies via email, and obviously the council too. Aroha G, I'd love to send her a copy as well. Present to 2 years, we'd like ngā hapu to name the lake. Winstones Lake, I think it's ready to grow up and be given a name that reflects the history of the land that it sits on, and the waters that flow past it and through it. I think infrastructure is a big priority for us, so that road, those toilets, that car park will most certainly change how we engage that space. It will increase our capacity to receive what I can see by your statistics is a community that's going to, triple in the next 30 years. Are we ready to sustain a community and its wellbeing when it grows that rapidly in 30 years? And I see the many projects that have been submitted and discussed tonight as a solution to that growth. Wakareo, capital of New Zealand, that we grow the space as a real space, as a real domain outside of kura, outside of marae and outside of wānanga. I mean, that's already started. 5 years, running tracks, joint management. We want to be a leading example of treaty partnership for other rohe to learn from, for us to learn from others as well. Obviously in 10 years, growth of membership, growth of events, that we've ready, that the lake has actually been expanded by then. In fact, we would want that to happen in the next 2 years. It's ambitious, I know. But while we have all those huge earth movers, one thing we really need to do is expand the lake so that we can accommodate race lanes. There's no point in planting beautiful trees around a lake that is too small to host events. I mean, we can do all of that. We can create a beautiful ecology, develop exquisite, exceptional water quality, and host regional events so that we're meeting all of these outcomes. But it's important that it's done first, even before plantings, I would say. 5 years, obviously, a facility, a building. Within 5 years that we have a building up, that we are able to house watercraft and obviously run community events, 10 years and so on. And it's all self-explanatory. You've probably already read it while I was talking. Ka mutu ki reira, kia rite hoia. Ko tātou katoa tērā. Koina noiho, thank you.
Thank you very much for that submission. My wife and I, we walk that area quite often, and I've always known that it is a gem. We have participated with the Friends of the Otaki River, some plantings around there. And I do remember a conversation with, I'm not sure whether it's you or a couple of others at a cafe, lean-to cafe in Otaki Beach, talking about this in terms of the provincial growth funding possibility of using that to look at a vision for that place. And I know that the ability to develop that area is constricted because one, it is a commercial, so industrial site. And the other thing, of course, the designation under the regional council is a flood protection area. That needs to be shifted at some stage into a recreational. I'm not sure whether there's such a thing as called a recreational cultural zoning. I don't know. But certainly the issue of changing the name is a good step to put a stake in the ground and shift the narrative and the story that needs to be told, and the development that needs to happen down there, because definitely it is a gem and a regional asset. So we've always been quite excited about the potential of that place. Councillors, question time, Councillor James Coates.
Kia ora, Gary. Can I just check, Kahu, did you went looking at saying something? Okay, kia ora. Kia ora, Roimata and Tracy. Look, we've had just under 800 submissions through the long-term plan process, and we are yet to read them all. We got the last tranche of them last night, and I just wanted to compliment you on the quality of your submission. I think most councillors have read it, very professionally put together out of all the submissions, and I'm genuine in saying this, the quality of your submission, the vision, the 2, 5, 10, 20-year vision, really well articulated and presented in both your presentation tonight. I haven't done this in past speakers, but I think it is important to acknowledge the quality of the submission and the exciting opportunity that exists there. I've been involved in some of the meetings around the Windstones Lakes there, and I'm interested. This is a little bit unusual for me to do this, Your Worship, but I'd like to see a show of hands of those in this chamber that have actually been to the lakes and are familiar with a few of us, because I think a lot of people don't even know it exists there. So my question to you, because we are supposed to ask questions as part of the hearing, is would there be an opportunity, understanding that it is a construction site and an active site there with Windstones and that you have limited access, but would there be an opportunity for elected members and staff, if they wished to visit the site at some stage and actually get a grasp on the potential that is sitting there to be unlocked, and how your vision of that site looks in reality? Because I think being at the site helps tell that story.
Oh, absolutely. I would go one further and suggest that we go for a paddle. If I can do it, trust me, if I can do it, you can all do it. It would be a great experience. I'd love for you to experience what it's like out on the water, as well as, so, you know, maybe bring something to move your body in. But most certainly, please come. We would welcome, we take every opportunity we can to walk people around there. I think, you know, to advance our aspirations to fund that road and to get that road in there, which is so important. We've had people like Teresa, as you guys, some of you would have already walked around with her perhaps. She wanted to have a look at the space as well, because she wasn't familiar with it. And it is important that you go there and you get a sense of how it connects with the shared cycleway, the shared pathway. You see how the potential for running tracks. There is already a riding track, a horse riding track. So, you know, that community has begun to engage, as have, you know, our greenies, which is great. And so, yeah, definitely, most certainly we can talk offline about dates and times. Greater Wellington Regional Council, you know, we've spoken with them a lot. There's been a lot of communication between them, Ngāhapu, Fletchers, and Windstones about addressing the water quality as they continue with the rehabilitation. And we've asked them to rethink the design of the lake, to think a little bit further ahead and for the lake to be bigger. We agree that the edges of the lake should be beautiful and natural, but we don't want to limit the potential for the lake to also be a venue for events, race events.
Councillor Buzzer.
Thank you, Roemata, for speaking to us tonight. And I think that I've been a councillor for 4.5 years, and this is the first time we've really heard in depth about your project up there. And before my tenure as an elected member, I didn't even know those lakes exist, and I just live across the river from them. So it is an absolute hidden gem in our community. And I did have the pleasure of walking with Teresa Ngobi over that land, and certainly advocating for the continuation of the CWB through that area, along with the roadway to Te Rota Road. So hopefully, we haven't heard anything back yet, but I hope that she's working away in Wellington for us on that. I think that what's quite ironic about the lakes is actually a byproduct of our region's growth. And, you know, from my 4 or 5 years ago when I did a river walk with the Friends of Otaki River, seeing what looked like a small lake back 4 or 5 years ago has now just been made huge, and it's growing into the next lake next to more Ashford Park area. So definitely see the growth in there, and it's really, really exciting. We just need to make it more open for the public. I see truckloads of cars parked out there at 5:30 on the weeknights, right out to the state highway, waiting to get in. I also just wanted to congratulate you on everything that you're doing for the community and so forth. But I'd like to also highlight, we've had a submission from the Friends of Otaki River in regards to putting a public toilet down there in that area. And I see that it is on your plan. I think it was in year 2 to have some kind of public facility. How do you guys get on at the moment with your toileting and amenities down there?
That's a really good question, because we have a portaloon, and you know, our costs are somewhere just under $300 a month. Is that right, Tracy? The trustees would know, yeah, just under about $300 a month. We do that obviously to protect this body of water from contamination. It's the right thing to do. What we're noticing, and this is very much a post-COVID reflection, is there was just a big spike, a huge spike in activity, which put extra pressure on the toilets. And so we bring in 2 toilets, and obviously the costs go up to $600 a month. And so that's a reality. It's a reality. Other things we do to process waste here at the moment is to do things like, we shouted capitals on the club pages about bringing in plastic. And we, you know, you'll see in some detail in the submission document that we would like this, you know, we've got an opportunity starting at ground zero with a gravel pit filled with water to really design an amazing space that processes waste, that has, you know, really beautiful, well-made, well-planned recycle stations and wash down stations for watercraft. That's the beauty of starting from scratch, is that we can do things, design things well. Yeah, so, but at the moment we fund our own toilets.
And so in terms of your funding as a group, is it just through your members that fund your group?
Yeah, we're fanatical fundraisers. We've had to increase fees. Then we had to then there was a response to our families as to how we could make that easier and more efficient, because it was hard. We did take a hit with a drop in membership. You still have to meet those costs. They don't change. And those fixed costs include toilets. Yeah, so fundraising. And if you've ever bought a raffle ticket in Otaki online, you've probably bought one from us. We're fanatical fundraisers, and because we have to. One of the things that we strive to do too is to make things as cheap as possible for our families. So we fundraise all through summer, so that to take a child to compete at nationals only costs them $50. Now, if you ask any other club, you'll find the costs will climb very quickly to $300-400 easy. And we have to work quite hard to keep those costs down for them. We have started to do things like trying to think of smarter ways to fundraise. But at the moment, our families carry the cost, and our communities who buy our raffle tickets. So, yeah.
That's great. Thanks for sharing all this with us tonight. It's really appreciated.
Right, I think that brings us to fantastic and Kahu, if you mind closing this before I close the meeting.
Jona roi mata, e te tuahine korua ko te whaia, Tracy. Tēnā rau atu me ngā mahi, kōti a korua, me te pai hoki te taumata o ngā kōrero ko puta mai. Kāre au I te ohorere, he uri koe nā te kākura, no reira me pērā kā tika. No reira. He pātai tāku kia tono mai tō presentation, tō whakakitenga kia mātou, wetahi tangata o wetahi tari o konei i ana ki te titiro, hei āwhina I te kaupapa. Kei te pai tērā?
Ai, pai noi ho.
Ai, okay. So haunga I tērā ko tāku noi o he miha tu kia tātou ki te whare. Do you want me to do a karakia now or do you want to wrap up first?
This has been this is a really good ending to this submission process. In terms of the long-term view they need to take, we have now come to a place where there's been a transition towards what we have heard today over and over, the Tahika, the need for a two-house approach. These are sounding very loudly in our ears at the same time where there are other reverberations right across the country about the separatism and all this sort of stuff. So we are at the coalface of trying to shape a new relationship that will be mutually beneficial to all of us. So I tautoku the sentiments that have been expressed through the submission process. I support the new way that we have started to engage with each other. And having said that also, I must give credit to the councillors who have gone through this process. This has been the longest marathon, long-term submission process I've seen in my 24 years. And I give my heartfelt thanks on behalf of all the councillors to the Democratic Services people, Tahika, Leanne and Grayson, who has fed us really well, both in terms of supporting the whole process and also nurturing the type of food that we need to eat. And Janet, my deputy, is very happy about that, and I'm happy because she's happy. And I thank the councillors who have had the stamina to hold on, and a special recognition of the chief executive who had to stop wanting to scream sometimes, say something, and he didn't. I've discovered his new talents that he comes to the job. And Kaho and the Maori Liaisons team, thank you for what you have helped in terms of shaping this. Thank you very much.
No reira I runga anō I tēnā. E whātona te ngākau ki a rātou o te wāhi ngaro ke tau mai nei te manaakitanga ki runga ki nei tangata. E nei tangata e haere tū mai ki tēnei hui ki hoki tuatu ki ngā wāhi kāinga. A tāwharau tia rātou I te tāwharau take o te mana atu o te mana āriki. Ārangia rātou I ngā kino, I ngā whiunga, I ngā itu, I ngā mate o te rangi o te whenua kia kau e pā mai kia mātau. Tūturu, kia rongo, whakamaua, kia tīna.
Tēnā.
Haume hui e.
Tai ki e.
In the proverbial words of Timothy Karetu, roi mata, ki te hoi, ki te hoi.
So with that, I formally close the full council meeting. Thank you very much.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Tēnā tātou. Some tātou. Hoi inga. Ka ki te hoi mata. Must take some. There isn't one.
You got it. Moia ki te kāinga. You've got it. No, te tai te tū ki te kōrero.
Hey, fellas, whawhi offline, eh? Offline. Whawhi offline.
Ka ki te kahu.
Pōmari e. Ka nui te aroha whānau.
Ka ki te pōmari e.
Pōmari e. Kia ora, Trace.
Thank you, roi mata.
Ai.